Have you ever wondered whether you're happy with who you are? Or do you spend your days comparing your life to the lives of those around you, asking why you aren't like them? If yes, we need to face a hard truth. As long as you keep comparing yourself to others, you sign, day after day, your own sentence to unhappiness. Social comparison is an invisible prison, a cell built inside your mind with bars you can't see yet are as solid as concrete and iron. Bars forged from flawless Instagram photos, LinkedIn success stories, sculpted bodies, fairy tale weddings, and trips that look like perfume commercials. And every time you steal a glance, every time you scroll your feed and weigh your life against someone else's, you reinforce those bars. You make them thicker, taller, until one day you look in the mirror and you no longer see yourself. You only see everything you are not. The invisible prison of comparison. What's most brutal is that it feels so normal, so automatic, you barely notice it's happening. From childhood, you were taught you must be the best, the fastest, the most beautiful, the smartest, the most successful. You were told there's an invisible checklist you must complete to deserve respect and admiration. Good grades, a diploma, a good job, a nice car, an enviable relationship, a beautiful home, and if possible, a perfect body too. That's where the poison is. Because when you compare yourself, you're not just wishing for what someone else has, you're implying without realizing it that you aren't enough, that you are wrong, that your life as it is isn't worth living. And that, my friend, is one of the most dangerous ideas anyone can carry. As Arthur Schopenhauer said, envy always looks upward, never downward. He was right. There will always be someone richer, more beautiful, smarter, more talented, more charismatic, or at least someone who seems to be all of that on social media. And the more you look up, the lower you feel. It's a cruel equation that never balances. But listen to something almost no one tells you. The deeper problem with comparison isn't just the envy or resentment it breeds, it's something far more insidious. It disconnects you from your own voice, your own essence. You start living like an actor on a stage, performing the role that society, family, friends, and your shoulds wrote for you. You get lost and end up living a life that isn't yours. So when your head hits the pillow at night, even after a full day, even after praise, likes, and recognition, you feel that emptiness, that tightness in your chest, the sense of always lagging behind, always falling short, always owing something. And then you start to wonder, why can't I be happy like they are? I'm here to tell you there's another way. There's a way out of this prison, but it isn't easy, it isn't quick, and it certainly isn't a path you can walk on autopilot. Before I show you that path, I need one thing from you, your attention. Stay with me until the end, because today I want to show you that you are not condemned to live trapped in other people's lives. You can still live your own life and discover that within it there are already enough reasons to be happy, even if you can't see them yet. The rigged game of comparison. At its core, comparison is a game you cannot win, a game that seems to have clear rules, but in practice keeps manipulating the score against you. It's as if, from the day we were born, someone put us in a race. We were told that if we run fast enough, work hard enough, devote ourselves enough, we'll reach a place called happiness. And without noticing, we spend our lives running to build the ideal body, find the perfect partner, make more money, travel more, gain more admiration. Every time you think you're getting close, someone sprints past you. Then come the voices. Did you hear? So-and-so already bought a place. So-and-so got married and had a child. So-and-so just got promoted. And you, what are you doing with your life? Social comparison is ruthless because it never lets you breathe. You may feel happy about something you achieved until you find out someone achieved something greater. You feel good in your body until you see someone thinner, stronger, more defined. You're proud of your job until you meet someone who apparently earns double and travels the world. As Schopenhauer said again, envy looks only upward, never downward. That's exactly how it works. You don't look at those fighting harder battles than you. You don't look at those behind you in the race. You only look ahead to those who appear to be winning. That's the trap. Because when you only look up, you inevitably start to feel small, inadequate, behind. There's something else no one tells you. In this game, the rules are not clear. What does it mean to win? What does success mean? For some, it's making money. For others, it's freedom. For some, it's building a family, children, stability. For others, it's fame, recognition, power. But when you're trapped in comparison, you don't even ask what winning means to you. You simply absorb other people's standards and start measuring yourself by them. Then the game becomes impossible. Even if you achieve something, the bar moves. There will always be someone who does more, has more, seems happier. The higher you climb, the more people appear above you. The top is infinite. It's like chasing the horizon. No matter how far you go, it never gets closer. And here's the worst part. Social media has turned this into psychological hell. In the past, you compared your life to your neighbors, your co-workers, or relatives. Now you compare your behind the scenes to the curated highlight reels of millions of people worldwide. You see someone smiling on a paradise beach and think that's their entire life. You don't see the debt, anxiety, conflict, or loneliness behind that photo. And yet, even if you know this logically, something deep down still convinces you that other people's lives are better than yours. That's where the vicious cycle of torment begins. You don't allow yourself to feel happy with what you have because you always think something is missing. You start punishing yourself, criticizing yourself, demanding more of yourself. Without realizing it, you begin treating yourself as a failure, because in the game of comparison, the other always wins, and you always lose. But hear this, the game is rigged. It's been manipulated from the start to make you feel lacking, to make you consume more, work more, run more, and it will never let you win. That's why today, I want to challenge you to ask, who defined the rules of the game you're playing? Who decided what success means for you? Do you really want the things you think you want, or do you only think you want them because everyone else seems to want them? The first step to freeing yourself from this prison is realizing you might not even want to be playing this game. But there's a darker side to comparison still. It starts eroding something even more precious, your self-esteem and your connection to your true self. That's what I want to explain next. When self-esteem becomes a hostage, the worst trap of social comparison isn't only that it makes you feel small next to others, it's deeper and crueler. It turns your self-esteem into a hostage. When you start measuring your worth by other people's standards, achievements, and applause, you hand over to the world the power to decide how much your life is worth. There is no subtler slavery than this. Think about it. From early on, we were taught our value lies out there, in the grades you earn at school, the praise from teachers, the recognition from parents. Later, we were told it's in the job you land, the salary you make, the number of likes you collect, the approval of others. It's as if you must constantly present evidence that you deserve to exist. It drains you, because every time you don't get the recognition you expected, every time someone around you shines brighter, you treat it as your failure, as if there's something wrong with you. That's how comparison becomes an invisible chain. You become a slave to eyes, opinions, numbers. Every like, every positive comment, every signal of approval is like a dose of a drug keeping you going. And every criticism, every silence, every moment when no one seems to notice you is a stab to the soul. Schopenhauer understood this deeply. He observed that almost all of our sorrows spring from our relations with other people. In other words, the more you base your happiness on other people's opinions, the more power you give them to hurt you. As long as you depend on others' approval to feel good, you will live on an emotional roller coaster. One day you're on top, invincible because someone praised you. The next, you're at the bottom because you didn't get the response or applause you expected. What's most insidious is how this dependency slips into the smallest details. You start dressing to impress, saying things you don't believe just to be accepted, posting photos that have nothing to do with your reality, just to look happy. You mold every part of your being to fit a shape that wasn't made for you. Meanwhile, your inner voice suffocates because you no longer know what you like, what you want, what you dream of. Everything becomes performance. Everything becomes an attempt to please. Even your sadness is carefully calibrated so it doesn't disturb too much or look like weakness. Social comparison doesn't only create envy, it destroys your ability to see who you really are. It convinces you that your story, your pace, your achievements are insignificant unless they are bigger or better than someone else's. And that is the perfect recipe for living eternally dissatisfied. Self-love becomes conditional. I can love myself only if I'm better, more beautiful, richer, smarter, happier than others. That will never be fully possible. There will always be someone who surpasses you in something. Always. Here lies the greater danger. When you start believing you're not enough, you stop fighting for your own dreams. You stop celebrating your small victories. You convince yourself you're behind, that you're lesser, that it isn't worth it, and you begin to live in a constant state of anxiety, guilt, and fear. The result? An entire life wasted trying to prove something to people who, most of the time, aren't even paying attention. There is something even more painful that happens when our self-esteem becomes a hostage to comparison. We lose touch with our inner voice, with what makes us unique, authentic, true. That's what we'll discuss next. The silencing of your inner voice. Do you remember that voice inside that whispers what truly makes you happy? The voice that tells you what you actually like, what makes you vibrate with joy, what brings you peace. When you live immersed in comparison, that voice grows quieter and quieter until it almost disappears. When your inner voice goes silent, you start living on autopilot. You wake up, work, consume, post, smile for the photo, everything mechanically, everything to preserve an image, everything to avoid the fear of being seen as less. Schopenhauer said, "The greatest wisdom is to be content with what one is without wishing to appear what one is not." But how can anyone find such wisdom in a world that teaches you to always desire more, to always want to be someone else? Society pushes you into pre-made roles. It tells you happiness is having a certain body, a certain status, a certain bank account. Without noticing, you begin chasing goals that were never yours. You start studying what doesn't interest you, working at what you hate, surrounding yourself with people who don't match you, simply because it's the right thing. That's when suffering sets in. Living disconnected from your essence means living divided. On the outside, you wear the mask. On the inside, you slowly fall apart. The further you drift from who you really are, the emptier your inner world becomes. It's like building a beautiful house on the outside with rooms that are empty, cold, and dark. Each time you try to take refuge inside, you find nothing but echo. Social media has made this brutally worse. Now, at every moment, you're exposed to edited versions of other people's lives. People who look happier, more beautiful, more fulfilled. The more you consume these images, the duller, smaller, more insignificant your own life seems. You start doubting your choices. Am I in the right relationship? Did I choose the wrong profession? Am I not ambitious enough? Am I behind in everything? Each time you surrender to these doubts, you push your inner voice farther away, until one day you can't answer the simplest, deepest question: what do I really want? Here's a truth almost no one tells you. As long as your inner voice is silent, you will be vulnerable. Vulnerable to manipulation, to standards that aren't yours, to spending years chasing achievements that deep down have nothing to do with you. That's why so many people reach their 30s, 40s, 50s with a seemingly perfect life but a devastating emptiness inside, because they spent years living to meet external expectations and forgot to ask, what matters to me? What makes me happy? What makes me feel alive? Until you reconnect with that voice, you won't know who you are, and those who don't know who they are will never know what they truly want. Thankfully, there is a way to restore that connection, to quiet the outer noise and hear the sound of your own soul. It's not easy. It takes courage, patience, and above all, the willingness to question everything you've learned to call truth. That's exactly what we'll explore next. How society maintains the trap. There's a reason why social comparison is so powerful, so persistent, and so hard to let go of. It isn't just an individual flaw. It's a carefully constructed and maintained trap, sustained by the society we live in. The culture, the media, the market, social networks, they all have a huge interest in keeping you dissatisfied, Yes, you heard that right. There's an entire system that thrives while you believe you're not enough. Let's start with the basics. Capitalism, in its most brutal form, needs one thing to keep spinning. It needs you to want more, to desire something new all the time. Because if you woke up tomorrow completely content with who you are, what you have, and what you do, you'd stop consuming. That would be a tragedy for those who profit from selling products, services, and above all, dreams. That's why the market feeds on your comparison. It plants the idea that there is always a level above, a place you haven't reached, a body you don't have, an experience you haven't lived, a happiness that is always ahead, but never here. Look around. Commercials, ads, influencers, films, series, they all tell the same story. You can be better. You should be better. And to do that, just buy what we're selling. Schopenhauer spoke about this in the 19th century when he said, "Life swings like a pendulum between pain and boredom." The system we live in understood this oscillation well. It makes you feel pain, the pain of not being enough, and then offers products or experiences that promise to soothe that pain, if only for a moment. When the effect wears off, there you are again, immersed in comparison, feeling small, ready to consume more. It doesn't stop there. Social media emerged as the perfect fuel for this machine. Now it isn't just advertising that makes you feel small. It's ordinary people like you, posting lives that seem perfect. You start to feel like you're falling behind, failing, not living as you should. But what you see on social media is only the shop window, the lit part of the stage. You don't see the backstage, the tears after the selfie, the debt after the trip, the existential crash after Black Friday. Yet you still compare. And notice, this comparison isn't entirely your fault. It's a carefully cultivated social mechanism. Because as long as you're trying to match or surpass others, you'll keep spinning the wheels of consumption, validation seeking, and emotional servitude. High-performance culture reinforces this too. We live in a world that glorifies the endless hustle, the 5 a.m. grind while others sleep. Those who can't keep up start to feel lazy, unsuccessful, mediocre, and again they compare themselves. All of this creates a society of people disconnected from themselves, people who no longer know what they want because they're too busy trying to achieve what they were told they should want. And yet, as Schopenhauer said, happiness belongs to those who are sufficient unto themselves. But how can one be sufficient unto oneself in a world doing everything it can to convince you that you're not enough? The answer isn't outside, it's within. Before we get there, we need one more step. It's not enough to just switch off your phone or unfollow harmful profiles. True liberation requires a radical shift in perspective. That's what we'll explore next. The battle with your yesterday self. If there is one game worth learning in life, it's the game against yourself. Not against the world, not against other people's success, not against the glittering projections you see on social media, against who you were yesterday. Freedom from social comparison doesn't happen simply by turning off your phone or quitting social media. The poison of comparison is already inside you, planted over years, sometimes decades, by external voices repeating endlessly that you must be more beautiful, wealthier, thinner, more successful, more popular. The antidote isn't in the silence of the outer world, but in the courage to make a radical choice. Stop using others as your yardstick, and start measuring yourself only by yourself. I know, it sounds simple. It isn't. It's revolutionary. It means redefining all your success metrics. It means asking yourself honestly, what do I truly want from my life? What makes sense to me, not just what I was told I should do? What makes me feel alive, not just what looks impressive to others? Schopenhauer reminds us that the greatest happiness belongs to those who are sufficient unto themselves. Most people have never bothered to discover what that means, because it takes work. It demands a reckoning with yourself. It requires looking at the parts of you that may have been dormant for years, suffocated by the obligation to fit in. Here's a hard truth. As long as you try to win at other people's game, you will lose, always. In the game of comparison, the ruler keeps moving, the rules keep changing, and the judges are invisible and merciless. The only game you can truly win is the one where your opponent is your yesterday self, where the measure is your own progress and the prize is living a life aligned with what you believe and value. Think about it. Imagine using your own values as your measure. Imagine defining success not by money but by free time, not by the number of likes but by the depth of your relationships, not by external accolades but by how peacefully you sleep at night, knowing you're true to yourself. This changes everything. When you start playing this game, something extraordinary happens. Envy loses its power. Resentment dissolves. The weight of comparison evaporates. Someone else might be making millions, traveling the world, living stories fit for the cinema, and that's okay. You stop feeling behind because you realize you're not even in the same race. Different tracks, different games. This is where true happiness begins, not the loud kind that needs to be posted and liked, but the quiet kind that arises from feeling whole, living by your own measure. When you choose to measure your life only against yourself, you start celebrating small victories you never noticed before. You realize you're more patient than last year, emotionally stronger, able to say no to what you don't want, closer to who you really are. That generates an inner confidence no one can steal. No economic crisis, no outside criticism, no algorithm. In that moment, you grasp something simple yet powerful. The meaning of life isn't to defeat others, but to transform yourself, every day, into your best version. Even if no one applauds, even if no one sees, you may be wondering, how do I start? How do I abandon the game of comparison and create my own criteria for success when society keeps dragging me back into the trap? Let's get practical. Steps to free yourself from comparison. Social comparison isn't going to magically disappear. You will continue to meet people who seem more successful, more beautiful, happier. You will continue to be bombarded with images of perfect lives, extraordinary achievements, sculpted bodies, fairy tale relationships. That's the game society plays, but you can choose not to play. You can decide to stop measuring yourself by someone else's ruler and live by the only measure that matters, yours. True freedom isn't eliminating all external voices. They will always exist. True freedom is making your inner voice louder than all the others. It's recognizing your own worth, even when no one is watching. It's building a life that makes sense to you, even if no one applauds. As Schopenhauer noted, the less we care about other people's opinions, the more peacefully we live. I'll take it a step further. The more aligned you are with yourself, the more you will realize that other people's opinions usually mean absolutely nothing. Maybe you're asking, how do I begin? How do I create my own criteria for success after a lifetime of believing I had to live according to other people's gaze? Here's how. You start in the simplest and bravest way. Ask yourself every day who you want to be, not what others want from you, not what's trending online, who you, deep down, want to be. You start by allowing yourself to hear your own voice, by paying attention to those small sparks of joy when you do something you love, to the moments when time seems to stop because you're immersed in something that makes you feel alive. You start by freeing yourself from the need for approval, by ceasing the hunt for applause and beginning the search for peace. And most importantly, you start by accepting there will be bad days, setbacks, moments when the noise outside seems louder than your voice. Even on those days, you can choose not to abandon yourself. Even on those days, you can recognize the negative noise of comparison and refuse to be prey to it. Because in the end, the only comparison that matters is with who you were yesterday. The only game worth playing is the game of becoming, each day, your best self. The only applause that matters is the one you give yourself when you lay your head down at night, at peace, knowing you lived true to what you believe. Ultimately, the choice is yours. Will you go on living in other people's shadow, or will you start living in the light of your own truth? Life is far too short to spend it as a copy. Walk your own path, because, as Friedrich Nietzsche wrote, no one can build the bridge on which you alone must cross the river of life. And that journey, difficult as it may be, is worth every step.